Welcome back, friends. Today I am going to teach you a technique for stopping intrusive thoughts. Now, this is a 3-step process that I use with some of my clients who struggle with intrusive thoughts. So for those of you who may not know, intrusive thoughts are any thoughts that you find yourself thinking about that you don't want to be thinking about, or the thoughts continue to come and they continue to come and you can't seem to stop thinking about them. For those of you all who've had intrusive thoughts before, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And for those of you all who maybe have just had a lot of thoughts and you're not sure if they're intrusive thoughts, one way to think about intrusive thoughts is thinking about something that you don't want to think about, but now I've mentioned it, you're going to think about it. So if I said, what was the last TV show you watched? Now this is going to come to your mind. And now if I said, don't think about it. Are you thinking about it? Stop thinking about it. I don't want you to think about it. If you find that you cannot stop thinking about it, that can be an intrusive thought. So in order to stop some of these intrusive thoughts, which can cause significant distress and a lot of anxiety, and in fact, most intrusive thoughts are anxiety-based, we look at a 3-step process. The first is to visualize the thoughts. Now, some people visualize the intrusive thoughts as words or as images. And this step is really important because instead of them being sort of this foggy something that's just invading your mind, they are actually physical things. So some people imagine their thoughts as 3-dimensional words. I don't know if you remember like Schoolhouse Rocks and things like that where they have the 3-dimensional words. Some people imagine the thoughts as 3-dimensional words. Other people imagine thoughts as visual images, as like something that you would see on a TV. But it's very important to give these thoughts a tangible form so that if you were asked to construct them out of clay or to draw a picture of them, you could do that. So step 1, I want you to imagine these thoughts and what they look like. Step 2, I want you to imagine what the stop button is. Now, the stop button can be exactly that. It can be a button or it can be a stop sign. I've had people describe a wall that is fortified that they put up. For people who have a visual with visual thoughts that come to them in images, they think of the stopping as turning off of a television. So whichever you are thinking of, I would like for you to draw it out. So to give you a little example, when I think of thought stopping, I draw an actual stop sign and I have drawn it out. So here's an example right here of the stop sign. It's not very good, but that's okay. It doesn't have to be. This isn't about art and drawing well. It's about you being able to draw a visual representation of what it is that is your stop mechanism. And once you have drawn this, or in some cases you could also find a picture of this or a video of this that you were able to look at repeatedly, I want you to memorize it. So now you have the first 2 parts, which is the thoughts, what do they look like, and the stopping mechanism, what does that look like? Now, it might be tempting to stop right here. All right, I have the thoughts and I have the stop sign, but you need to figure out what happens to the thoughts when they hit the stopping mechanism. So, for example, if you have a stop sign, you might imagine that the thoughts are words, or for some people the thoughts are bullets because they're very powerful and dangerous. And you imagine them hovering in midair, kind of like the end of the first Matrix when Neo puts up his hand and he just stops the bullets. So maybe they just stop there and they can't move. Maybe they stop there and they fall to the ground. For some people, they imagine that words hit the wall and they just bounce off and fall to the floor, or they stick in the wall. For some people who have more visual images that aren't actually word-based, they think about turning off the TV and the images are still there in the TV station or whatever, but they are not actually coming through anymore and cannot be seen. So I want you to have a very clear visualization of what happens to those thoughts once they are stopped. Now, the final step, and this is one of the most important steps, is to have a replacement thought. And this thought needs to be very detailed and long and drawn out. So a replacement thought might be a memory that you focus on remembering every piece of it. So maybe it was a hike that you took on a particularly beautiful day and you saw a moose in the woods, and you imagine what does that look like, and what did the temperature feel like, and what were the smells, and what did I feel like in that moment, and where did we go after that. So it's a very clear memory. It could also be an imagining. Sometimes people will think about, what if I met this celebrity or someone that I really admired and I got to sit by them on the plane, and what would a conversation be like? And then you imagine out that entire conversation. What would you be wearing, and what would you say, and what would they be like? Or it could be another sort of dream of going to a place you've never been before, and you would need to do some research about what would you see and where would you go first and what might it be like. And it doesn't necessarily need to be based in reality. It just needs to be a thought that you can really delve into and flesh out, that you can think of instead of the intrusive thoughts. Sometimes you have to do this technique repeatedly whenever the intrusive thoughts come. And then eventually it becomes easier to move away from the intrusive thoughts into returning to other things you need to think about in your life. So there you have it, a process for stopping intrusive thoughts. If you have other ways that you like to use to stop intrusive thoughts, I would love to hear about those in the comments section. If you have anything else you would like to hear about that relates to intrusive thoughts or anxiety or ADHD or any of those psychological topics, please feel free to leave a comment or send me an email, and I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel. We'll continue to talk about these topics as we move forward. Thanks again for joining me, and I'll see you next time.